Hello and welcome to Who Is Best, a show where I, Claudine, take games that give you choices and rate those choices in a tier list. Fire Emblem tier lists are not easy. These games are known for deep strategies and systems that create so many avenues for breaking them. I learned a lot from my tier list on Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, and have returned today to create a tier for the biggest hit of the series, Fire Emblem Awakening. Awakening is not my favorite game of the series. In fact, I bought it upon release and sold it soon after. But recently I picked it up again and gave it one more go, and man was I happy I did. I've been researching for nearly a month on skills, classes, children, and accessibility to create today's list, so enjoy! To start, we need to talk about the two mechanics that truly break the universe of Fire Emblem games. That is, skill inheritance and children. In Fire Emblem Awakening, your units gain skills from hitting levels 1, 5, 10, and 15 of their respective classes. There are dozens of awesome skills like Aether and Soul, but I'd like to focus on two specifically. Those are Arms Thrift and Gale Force. Arms Thrift may go unnoticed by many players, but in late game it can't be passed up. The best weapons and tomes in the game have a very low durability, making the player hoard them until a particularly difficult battle. With Arms Thrift, you can negate that. If a character has 50 plus luck stat, then your weapon will never degrade, making you able to absolutely abuse legendary weapons and tomes. The second skill is much more popular. Gale Force broke this game. This skill is tied to the class Darkflyer specifically, so any unit that has the potential to reach or pass on that class will rate high on this tier list. Simply put, Gale Force allows you to have a second turn if you can kill the unit in your first turn. And it's awesome and broken. I do want to make a side note that Nosferatu can be abused heavily in this game as well, though it isn't quite as broken as Gale Force and other skills. It's still noteworthy. The other mechanic introduced was the children mechanic. Once two compatible characters reach S rank relationship after a certain chapter, they will have a child. That child is usable for the duration of the game and also gains the top abilities of both parents. Not just that, but they are also statistically the best characters in the game as well. So in recap, you have a child who gains skills and classes from two titanic parents, and you have the best character in the game. Oh, and there is some bonus characters you can get through DLC and multiple playthroughs, but I've decided to skip over these. They're all useful in their own right. But enough of that, let's get started with the tier. Anna is a fun but ultimately useless character. She's here for story reasons, and yes, her natural evasion is nice, but she produces no children nor gains any noteworthy skills. Sayri doesn't fare much better than Anna. She's a useless late game character. Archers get the raw end of the deal in Fire Emblem games, and VIRION is no exception. You'll use him at the beginning since he'll be your only long range unit for a few chapters, but will quickly be switched out for much better units. The low tier. Mariel is a squishy unit and the mother of Laurent, who is arguably the worst child in the game. Basilio and Flavia join the party late and are simply token units. You can use them if you want, but they won't really be game breaking in any playthrough. Tiki is not a little girl in this one. She's also kinda useless to be honest, which is a shame. Though her class, the Manicat, is broken, she never truly comes to herself due to obtaining her late in the game and not being able to pass her traits on to a child. Vike is another squishy unit you get early on. Even in the opening chapters, this guy struggles. Soli is the mother of Kjell, which you will see is a good thing. Given the right father, Soli can produce an awesome unit, but Soli herself is just abysmal. If you do use her, it will only be to create someone better than leave her in the dust. The lower mid tier. Henry has access to the Nosferatu spell, and because of this, it saves him from the tier, but just barely. Naui is the second best Manicat in the game and can be built as an absolute tank. Her skills are where she falls short. Like Soli, Naui requires a top tier husband to produce what may be one of the best units in Awakening. Kilam has great stats and is a decent father choice with good skills, but he can also be passed by for much better units. Rickon is an okayish mage. The best option for him is to become a Dark Knight and tank magic attacks. Libra is an above average unit, but a very below average parent, putting him smack dab in the middle of the group. Laurent is our first child unit, and man does this guy suck. Of course, all children can be improved on if you want to waste Chrom, Robin, or Gaius as a father for Laurent. The upper mid tier. This tier might as well be named the optimal parent tier. Here are some of your best choices when building your genetically enhanced super soldiers. First is Stall, who has awesome growths and stats and works best paired with any woman that can gain the Darkflyer class. Long Q can cultivate some of the better skills in the game. This gives him a lot of versatility as a parent and a first gen unit. Church is acquired late game, but is the mother of Chrom, who again is one of the better units. She's a flying unit, so she has the best maneuverability in the game. Unfortunately, she can't promote to Darkflyer, which puts her at a major disadvantage. Maribel, through extensive grinding, can reach the Darkflyer class, as well as master staffs early on. Her son is Brady, whom we'll talk about soon, but that aside, she still is a pretty great unit. Even with Gale Force, Brady's stats hold him back. He's built as a healer, so he really undercuts himself in usefulness. If you're wanting to build some optimal children, I'd pass on this guy. I, like many in the community, am a huge Tharja fan. She's one of the better first-gen mages and can pass on important skills to her child Norair. Pan is an awesome fighter and in terms of raw damage can hang with the best. She also passes her awesome stats on to Yarn, which will lead to one of the best berserkers in the game. Okay, here's a controversial one. Frederick is ranked high in almost every tier list I found online, and yes, I agree, he's a great first gen unit and parent, but he is surpassed in late game usefulness by a few other first gens and almost all of the children. I'm sorry, Awakening fan base, I tried my best. Donald, Gregor, and Gaius are ideal fathers for gaining the best skills in the game. Donald and Gaius can pass on the Darkfire class to their children, while Gregor gains Arms Thrift early and can pass it on to his child as well. The final member of the upper mid tier is Chrom. Chrom is not the best unit in the game, but he's easily the second best father in the game. He can potentially have two children, Lucina and whomever is connected to his wife. He also has hero exclusive skills that can be passed on. Paired with Olivia, Sumia, or Cordelia will result in your best units. The top tier. Lissa with Gale Force and the right spouse can create the busted Owain. Not just that, but she's one of your first staff users. Olivia might be one of the better spouses for Chrom. She produces Inigo, which is easily the most versatile unit in the game. She can also, through a ton of work, promote to the Darkflyer class and gain Gale Force, making a potentially game-breaking duo in Lucina and Inigo. Oh, did I also mention that she's the only dancer, which has always been an important class in the series. Sumia should not be overlooked in this game and gains Gale Force easier than any other unit. She's an ideal spouse for Chrom and mother of Lucina. Cordelia is the best flying unit in Awakening. She produces one of the best child units and you get her fairly early on in the game. Jerome's strength stats, supported by the breaker skills and the right father, can make him a deadly assassin of death. He doesn't have access to Gale Force, which hurts him, but the mobility of the Wyvern Rider with his stats really make him a top tier candidate. Yarn has an immense stat pool. When reclassed to something like Berserker, he becomes a crit hitting machine. Owain is as awesome as he is goofy, though breaking him isn't as easy as other children units. Nora needs to be reclassed as soon as possible, but despite starting off as an archer, she can be built to nearly anything you would like. Given Gale Force and Nosferatu, you might have one of the best mages, period. Inigo, like I said earlier in the list, is one of the most versatile units in the game. He has well-rounded stats and access to a variety of classes. Slap on some epic skills and he can be a one-man army. Also, him and Morgan have the best relationship, just saying. In a series where knights rarely make it in the top tiers, Kjell is the exception. Soli is not an ideal mom, but given Donald or Gaius as her father, Kjell's stats, growth rates, and class range make her extremely viable. For a knight, she has impressive speed and her defense and HP are through the roof. With a little work, Kjell can become your best physical unit. Robin is the best first-gen character in Awakening, with the ability to do both magic and physical damage, as well as choosing their gender, and don't forget some character-specific skills, the best stats and growths in the game, and you have one of the best units in Awakening, and one of the best fathers/mothers as well. The God tier. Cynthia takes all the pluses of a first-gen flying unit, minus the abysmal stats. She becomes the most deadly aerial unit in Awakening, and can easily access the best skills in the game. Severa has easy access to both Armsmith and Gale Force. She has well-rounded stats and growth and can be made into anything your team requires. Her mother is one of the best first-gen units, and with a deadly father like Robin, Chrom, or Frederick, she becomes one of your best choices in the endgame. Na is the best child unit given the right circumstances. Her stats are amazing, and given Gale Force, she can utilize the Maniket class to a deadly precision. Gaius and Donald are ideal fathers for her, given that they pass on the Darkflyer class. Lucina is the jack of all trades. She's Chrom with all the flaws fixed. Chrom is an awesome father and passes on some amazing skills. Given the right mother and Gale Force, Lucina will become an unstoppable machine. The final member of the God tier, an undisputed best potential character in the game, is Robin's child, Morgan. There are so many strategies to make Morgan the ideal character. Two popular ones are to make Morgan a Maniket, or make Morgan a third-gen child by having Lucina marry Robin and pass on the best skills in the game. Not to mention she has access, depending on her gender, to every class in the game. Take the broken nature of Robin and turn it to 11 and you have Morgan. And that's my list. Fire Emblem Awakening truly deserves the reputation it's garnered. There are a plethora of ways to bust this game, so a tier list can be very objective. But here's where I would start. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all later.